War is often remembered through medals, monuments, and grand speeches. But for the people who fight it, war is remembered through silence, through loss, and through the things that can never return. The story of All Quiet on the Western Front shows us World War I not through the eyes of generals or history books, but through the eyes of ordinary young men who were promised honor and instead found only destruction. This isn't a story about winning. It's a story about what war takes from those who survive it. At the start, Paul Bäumer and his classmates are just students, standing on the edge of adulthood. Their teacher fills their heads with passionate speeches about patriotism, duty, and sacrifice. He tells them that serving their country is the highest honor a young man can achieve, that war is noble, that it will forge them into heroes. Swept up in the applause and the pressure to belong, the boys enlist together. Not because they understand war, but because they're terrified of being left behind. In that moment, war feels distant, romantic, even meaningful. But that illusion doesn't last long. Military training is the first shock. Under the command of harsh instructors, the recruits are stripped of their individuality. They are shouted at, humiliated, and punished for the smallest mistakes. This part of the war isn't about combat. It's about control. The young men quickly learn that the army doesn't care who they were before. It only cares that they obey. Friendship becomes their only refuge. Laughter becomes a rare commodity. Fear becomes routine. By the time they finish training, they are no longer boys dreaming of glory. They are soldiers, conditioned to survive. When Paul and his unit arrive at the front lines, reality hits with brutal force. The battlefield is pure chaos. Explosions tear through the air. Rain turns the ground into a sea of mud. Wounded soldiers cry out from every direction. Death is no longer an abstract idea. It is immediate and personal. One of the young recruits is killed before he even reaches his assigned post. This is the moment the romantic image of war completely collapses. The veterans they meet are hardened, emotionally distant, and focused only on survival. They don't talk about honor. They talk about food, shelter, and staying alive. War, Paul realizes, isn't about courage. It's about endurance. Life in the trenches is a terrifying cycle of waiting and horror. Days pass with little food and no rest. Nights are filled with bombardments that shake the ground and shatter the mind. The soldiers learn skills that no one taught them in school: how to light a cigarette in the wind, how to sleep under fire, how to live right next to death. One by one, Paul's friends are wounded or killed. Visits to the field hospital reveal another layer of horror: rows of injured men, treated with cold efficiency but little emotion. Amputations are common. Death is expected. The machine of war keeps moving forward, regardless of who falls behind. During one battle, Paul kills an enemy soldier in close combat. But instead of relief, he feels overwhelming panic. Trapped in a crater with the dying man, Paul watches him struggle for hours. He tries to help, bringing him water and even speaking to him. In that moment, Paul finally understands the truth. The man he killed had a life, a family, and dreams just like him. There is no hatred left, only guilt. This encounter completely destroys the very idea of an enemy. What remains is the gut-wrenching understanding that both sides are just victims of the same war. As the conflict drags on, the soldiers begin to question its purpose. They ask why countries fight, why borders matter more than human lives, why decisions made by men far away result in so much suffering at the front. Their quiet conversations reveal a simple truth: no one on the battlefield truly understands why the war continues. The leadership feels distant. The idea of victory feels meaningless. These soldiers are no longer fighting for ideals. They are fighting simply because stopping feels impossible. After being wounded, Paul is granted leave and returns home. But instead of comfort, he feels completely alienated. Civilians talk confidently about the war, despite knowing nothing about it. They speak of future victories and heroic sacrifices. Paul even sees his old teacher, still encouraging a new class of students to enlist. When he's asked to share his experiences, Paul tells the truth: that war is suffering, that it destroys lives. His honesty is rejected. They call him weak, a coward. Paul realizes that the world he left behind no longer understands him, and it never will. The battlefield, as broken as it is, feels more honest. Back at the front, Paul finds that nearly everyone he once relied on is gone. His closest friend and mentor is killed while Paul desperately tries to save him. This final loss leaves Paul completely alone. By now, the war has taken everything from him: his youth, his beliefs, his sense of belonging. He continues to fight not because he believes in the cause, but because there is nothing else left to do. In the final moments of the story, the battlefield grows unusually calm. Paul notices a butterfly near the trench, a fragile, beautiful symbol of life and innocence. For a brief moment, the world feels peaceful. As he reaches out to touch it, he is shot by a sniper and dies instantly. There is no dramatic music, no final speech, just silence. The story ends as new, fresh-faced soldiers arrive at the front, with images of graves fading into view. The cycle continues. All quiet on the Western Front remains so powerful because it refuses to glorify war. It doesn't celebrate victory, it documents loss. The story is a timeless reminder that wars are not fought by nations, but by people. People who are often young, often misled, and often forgotten. Nearly a century after it was written, its message is unchanged. War does not create heroes. It creates survivors, and it creates graves. If history teaches us anything, it is that when war becomes normal, humanity pays the ultimate price. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please consider sharing it and subscribing for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world.